Hello everyone, Mr. E here, today to talk about game balance in Darktide. Shocking, I know. If you view this channel for any amount of time, you know that I talk about that quite frequently. But what might actually be shocking today is that I'm going to be taking the side of the player. I'm going to be saying we do actually need buffs. If you have not watched my content for any amount of time, I do generally not like to buff players for some pretty simple reasons, and I'll lay it out in terms of the new game mode Mortis Trials. Mortis Trials is a fun game mode, but it gets very samey and boring pretty quick for many players because it ultimately doesn't matter which weapons or talents or even which special buffs you pick from the game mode because there's just not enough challenge to go around. So one of the most enjoyable things about Darktide is that the game has this way of laying out complex combat challenges for you, right? It has the environment that you have to navigate through, plus it has these special enemies and the hordes of normal enemies, and they all have different abilities, and you have to like calculate all that and figure out, okay, which ability and what weapon should I use and where should I go, and it can feel both rewarding to execute that in the moment and to make a build and plan around those eventualities. Like, oh, I should bring a grenade launcher to deal with hordes. I should bring a sniper rifle to deal with long-range threats like snipers and gunners. And a game like Mortis Trials is so simple, so bloody simple, that ultimately you are robbed of that choice. Not by saying you don't have a choice, but by giving you literally all of the choices. It doesn't matter what you choose, you will almost certainly succeed, right? So your choice is ultimately meaningless. At the same time, there is another reality that I also want to avoid when I talk about game balance, and that is the problem that we have with Havoc, which is Havoc is a game that is by its very nature very difficult, and therefore, players are going to use the best of the best of the best stuff, in order to combat those challenges. And what we've got going with Havoc right now is a real problem where the field of options for your builds, for your weapons, is very, very narrow. And that's one of the biggest problems that I see people saying about Havoc. While players complain about Mortis Trials and say that it's too easy and that like it bores them because it doesn't even matter what they choose, Havoc on the other hand bores players because they can't choose. Because if they don't choose the A or S tier things, then they're just completely locked out of being able to complete content. And to show you exactly what I mean by that, let's take a look at what's playing in front of you right now. So this situation goes downhill really fucking quickly, because this is a Havoc 33, by the way, not even a 40. And look at the amount of purple healing enemies, look at the amount of crushers and ragers and the horde behind me, and there's shields, and there's a captain in here, and all of this culminates in us wiping. Just to, spoiler alert, we are going to ultimately lose this through attrition because I run out of ammo and everyone else dies. And all of this is a desperate fight, and it's really cool. However, what I want to say, my negative takeaway from this engagement is, if we weren't using the absolute best weapons that we had, this would in no way be possible. So if you just kind of take a look at what players are using in this game, we've got dueling swords, I'm using the Rumbler, there's flamers in here, there's chorus, we have all of the best tools available, and we could have won this situation, but there is no way, if you were not using very, very optimal things, that you would have been able to do this at all. And so what I want to focus on today, this ultimately ends us dying, by the way, I'm not going to belabor it much further. What I want to focus on today is ranged weapons, because I think there's a lot of offenders in this list in terms of weapons that just are not viable anymore. So if you've been a long-time viewer or subscriber to Mr. E, you recognize this tier list maybe. If you have not subscribed to Mr. E, what are you waiting for? No better time than now, I guess, especially if you agree with me that a lot of these weapons here do need buffs. My goal is hopefully get enough engagement with the algorithm and get some eyes on it that Fat Shark might see it and, act on it. Get these weapons buffed up so that we have more options for high-level play. If you agree, let me know down in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that stuff helps push me in the algorithm, so I really appreciate it. But to speak more on this was a tier list for 6 months ago, before Havoc was a thing, and certainly before Havoc 2.0 was a thing. So at the time, as you see here, everything B tier and above I think is really viable. B tiers are just fine, but you're going to get way better results with A's and S tiers. And what has happened over time is that this list of viable weapons has gotten smaller and smaller. So much so that when you play into Havocs, especially like Havoc 30+, you only have a very small handful of weapons that are really usable, like in any way, shape, or form at all. And I think it really comes down to 3 categories for those weapons. They have to have good ammo economy, they have to have solid damage, armor penetration as well, and they have to do good collateral damage. If you've got all those factors, then you are a solid pick for high Havoc. And here are the weapons that I think fit all those metrics, circled in green. So we've got the Void Blast Staff, we've got the Flame Staff, we've got the Recon Las Gun, the fast firing one for burn recon. We've got the Rumbler, we've got the Plasma Gun, Bolter, and Flamer. So these weapons are the cream of the crop. I think you can agree if you play in Havoc 30+, 99% of the time your players are using one of these weapons. And if they're not, you probably raise an eyebrow a little bit at them, right? There are other options out there, right? But these are the ones that are going to produce the best results. And it's because they have all or very close to all of the things I just mentioned there. They can really deal with the amount of threats that are on those high Havocs. Then we've got the sort of middle category here with the yellow slashes. These are the weapons that fall behind in one of those categories. Maybe they don't have the ammo efficiency or the armor killing potential or the collateral potential. So like take the infantry las guns, for example. They have amazing ammo economy, pretty much infinite ammo. They have really decent single target and armor penetration. They can snipe plenty of elites, but they do not have any collateral damage. So you're gonna have to shoot a lot to get as many kills as someone who is using the plasma gun, for example, and going to shoot in one big long tree trunk size line. So these weapons fall behind these ones because they're just outclassed in some category or another. And I'm mildly concerned about the weapons in this category. Note that the grenade pistol or the bolt pistol also falls into this category because it has like one build that's somewhat viable with it, but you know, you could just use plasma gun and probably be better anyway. What I'm really concerned about is these weapons, the red X's. These weapons do not fit into almost any of those categories. Maybe they have one of the 3 qualifiers, but they are not relevant. They literally could not be less relevant into that Havoc scenario. So imagine having any of these weapons into the Havoc scenario we just had, and imagine how little damage they would be able to put out. So we've got the infantry autoguns up here, we've got the shotguns, the combat shotgun and the double barrel. We've got the braced autoguns, we've got the revolvers, the twin link stubbers, RIP twin link stubbers, and point blank barrage, and we've got the Hellbore las guns. Get at me, Hellbore fanboys, when you're done cosplaying, that is. We've got the Vigilant / Headhunter autoguns. Get at me, all 2 of the Headhunter fanboys. I know you're probably out there somewhere. And then we got the Shredder pistol. Needs like 3 more buffs to make it even somewhat viable. So these weapons just cannot do anything against that amount of stuff, with that much health, with that much regeneration, and that much armor. Like, there's no way that they're relevant at all. And that's sad, because there was a day, as you can see by the amount of X's that are in the top 3 categories here, where these weapons were decently competitive into Auric Damnation and Auric Maelstrom games. You could see someone using this and be like, all right, you know, let's see them pop off, right? But now, like, if you're bringing them into that situation, you're griefing. You don't have a ranged weapon, because what is a, like, take for example the Vrax up here. Oops, the Vrax autogun, this one right here. This was one of the best weapons in the game at one time. The infantry autogun. It could like level a crusher in a matter of seconds, but it took about 30 bullets to do it. And then it got a couple of nerfs, and it takes about 2/3 of a mag to kill a crusher. It's still decent, but you cannot spend 2/3 of a mag to kill a single crusher in Havoc. If you are not killing as fast as the enemies are coming at you, you were going to get overwhelmed, you're going to die, like we had in that clip. And that was a situation where we were all using the green circle weapons. So imagine if any of us, or even half of us, or more of us, was using a yellow or a red weapon here. There's no way we would have come out of that situation if I wasn't using Rumbler and spamming Rumbler every second. So the solution, for once, for Mystery is not to nerf the green weapons, it's to buff the red stuff. The green ones are fine. Clearly the game is difficult enough if even all of us having green weapons in that situation couldn't overcome the challenge that was thrown at us at a Havoc 33, by the way. Clearly we need these red weapons to be brought up, because I never see them anymore, because I only play Havoc and they just cannot compete. So here's what I'm saying, Fat Shark. I'm going to reiterate it one more time. All these weapons here with red X's, and maybe even some of the ones with the yellow slashes, take a pass at them. Take a pass at them. Maybe we should look at whether or not they need just more passive armor penetration. Maybe like Hellbore Lasgun should be able to like almost one-shot a Crusher or something like that, because they have such a long fire time. Like high single target should be able to drop a single target. Maybe we should look at the auto guns, like these fast firing guns, and do something about giving them more armor penetration so that they can dumpster, or maybe they should have increased damage the longer they fire on a single target or something. I don't know. Like you guys are the game devs, you can decide what you need to do about these guns, but I'll tell you right now, from an experienced player's perspective, and sound off in the comments if you agree, which I imagine many of you do, that these guns are worthless into Havoc with the amount of threats that the game throws at us. You are essentially playing without a ranged weapon if you're playing with one of these. And that's all I have to say to you guys. That's just a little bit of a rant today, and I hope you appreciate it. Let me know if you like it down in the comments. Let me know if I should do this for melee weapons and talents and stuff too. I was thinking about that in the back of my mind. But yeah, that's it for today. Nice short one. Appreciate you. Have a good day, everyone, and Mystery out. Bye.